It's Mondays with Meleti, and your host, Meletios Pouliopoulos, here with you all morning. And I'm so pleased to have with me three members from the library at St. George. And they're here from Manchester, New Hampshire. They came all the way down. And why don't we turn on the microphones and say our Kalimeras. So, how are you, Jim? Kalimera.
Kalimera, Meleti. Pleasure to be here, and hello to Grecian Echoes Nation.
Hey, Jim, it's so nice to have you here. Jim Lalopoulos, who is one of the volunteers at the library, and his sister Vangie, Giotas, Kalimera, Vangie. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. You guys going to share that microphone there?
Yes.
And Helen Tsipopoulos, Minkle. It's so great to have you. And Jim Giotas, I wish you got to get into this. You're here, right? You're probably, and
He's our Uber. He's our Uber driver.
Kalimera, Meleti.
Kalimera, Tim. And so nice to have good friends in here in the station. And it's such an exciting time for our library. This is the 5th year. And I realized, and we talked about it months ago, we haven't planned anything for a 5th year celebration, right? We put balloons in the monthly bulletin. And I guess what I wanted to ask you guys is what drew you to the library project? What made you come in and participate and volunteer?
Well, first of all, we love our church. I love history, and it just seemed like a natural fit. And to be truly honest, I probably wouldn't have done it if my sister didn't come first. So I followed her, and she inspired me.
You both came together at the same time, right?
Yep.
And what happened one day was Phil Liakos, who at the time was the chair of the education committee. Phil was my partner in crime, and we presented this to the board of directors, and they voted unanimously, as I remember. And then at one point he said, "Oh, I talked to some people in church, and they're going to come down." He said, "Do you remember Vangie?" And I said, "Well, yeah, she's Tim's wife." So
Yep.
that was it.
Phil did approach me and asked if I was interested in volunteering. And it's such a great cause to preserve our church history, our cultural history, and having a wonderful time working with all of the people in the library.
It's so great. We're all good friends, and we do a lot of good work. And Helen, at what point you joined actually the photo ID session?
Yes.
That's how you came in.
I've always enjoyed looking at photos. And then when I started, it just brought back a lot of memories, a lot of like my parents and things that we used to do at the church. And so that really drew me in. And since then, we've just gone off from there, and we're having, like Vangie said, a fabulous time, just getting to know each other again.
That's really the wonderful thing about it. For me, for you folks who have been around the church and in Manchester, and taking care of things, and now for me coming back after all of these years and have grown up there, I want to take it a little further back for us and talk about when I came to talk with you, Helen, about your mother and grandmother. I was doing research in Manchester, and tell us about your mother, Olga.
Okay, Olga was my grandmother, my mother's mother. And yes, that is when we first got together. I think we met at
You remember Dunkin' Donuts?
Dunkin' Donuts. And we hadn't seen each other in such a long time.
Yeah.
And she was known as the Hellenic songbird many, many years ago.
You have that photo of her, that article?
Yes, it's
You
somewhere.
had
It's
all
somewhere
of these
around here.
clippings, yeah.
Yeah, she had a whole scrapbook filled with different items. And she even had the records
that's right.
I gave you, and you put them on digital, whatever they're called nowadays.
I wonder if we have she's saying Oyero Dimos, I remember, and was one of the songs, and that's a song that's played around Independence Day, and it's a traditional folk song, but it's about old man Dimos's dying and this kind of thing.
Well, she had just beautiful costumes that she'd show us pictures of all the time, and she was always singing. She was classically trained.
Right.
But she, loved to sing in the church choir now and then and around the house.
So it was from her scrapbooks that we found, too,
Yeah.
a very interesting article about the sons of Pericles. And now this is from the Union Leader in 1926 and 1927, and that's not digitized right now, I don't think. Jim, I think you looked into that, right?
Yeah.
And so now we're piecing together some organizational history, which is great. But let's talk about the photo ID session. That ran for many years.
I'm still working on that project, by the way. That was to take all the observers that Mr. Veras was always taking photos around the church events and putting them in a book, I guess you'd call it.
Right.
And we hadn't seen those in such a long time, so we had them online. We got Zoom sessions where we'd go through all the photos and people would identify who they saw in those photos, because of course they didn't label them back then. They just had catchy little phrases for identification of what was going on.
Right.
But it was nice to try to name the people that were in it. We still have a lot that needs to be done on that because, of course, not all of us could remember names and stuff. But we hope to get that up soon so that people can call in or email us and let us know who these people are so that we don't forget about them.
It's an ongoing process, isn't it? And
yeah.
we find that a lot of our photos have people from other communities, so that we don't think of ourselves as just being, our little our four walls.
And it's great to reconnect with people that you haven't seen. Like we had Stephanie, who came on to our calls with us, that she hadn't been around since high school, and here she was back again. So it's nice for that reason.
Yeah. So what we had done was we had digitized a large portion of, in fact, that whole, pretty much the full run, 33 years was it, or 35 years of the bulletin. And then we looked at the pictures and we identified them, and you're still doing all the work on that. I did find the track, by the way, from your grandmother.
Awesome.
And so this was recorded later. The clippings you have are from the 20s, at least that I printed up here. But this was from the session that Jimmy Parks had done, and at WFEA, a studio in Manchester, New Hampshire, with a lot of history. And let's just play Oyero Dimos. It's only a couple of minutes, and it'd be so nice. I've never played this on the radio, and it's nice to bring it back. It's from an old 78 RPM that was recorded in Manchester, New Hampshire, in WFEA, and this would have been sometime probably between 1949 and mid to late 40s. Wow. Right when Jimmy first got there, and so this is kind of exciting. Olga Strumbos Cortis, right? Her last name was Cortis. And when we say these names and we want to try to think, well, there are Cortises around here, and maybe there's a relation. And sometimes you have to go back all the way to your village to find those relations. And sometimes it's just a person who says, hey, I know this guy. George.
Good morning.
Good morning, George. Bring the microphone a little close and say hello to everybody. How
Good morning,
are you?
everybody. Sorry I'm late.
This is George Skaperdas. He's the president of the board of directors of the St. George Greek Orthodox Cathedral in Manchester, New Hampshire. And you came all the way down. How was the traffic?
The traffic was awful. The traffic was absolutely awful. It came from the seacoast, and it took 45 minutes, an hour to go 20 miles.
Oh, yeah.
Just crazy. But that's all right. People do it every day.
But you were listening to Mondays with Meleti.
I was listening to
so
Mondays with
everything was
Meleti
fine.
and listening to your grandmother just
Yeah,
now. It was wonderful.
Wasn't that great?
And glad to be here with the staff from the library.
George, we're lucky to have you as a president. It was when you started that the project came under your with your first meeting, I think.
With my auspices, Phil Liakos, the director of education, or the education chair at the time, came to me first and said, "Listen, this is what we're doing. This is what we're thinking of doing." I don't want to say that the project had been abandoned a few years before that, but members of our community, two educators, George Kitsis and George Tsipopoulos, had started with the library idea, and Billy Timbus, who's known throughout our community, started putting something together. And when Phil came to me with your idea, with Meleti and Phil's idea, I got behind it 100%, and was able to present. Phil made a wonderful presentation of the board, and the board said, "Yeah, we need this," and that's where it is.
That's it was the right time.
Absolutely.
And what was very nice was that the board was unanimous.
Absolutely.
And from that word go, there's been an outpouring of support, and we found that it brought people back. I found people coming in. People probably said that about me. Hey, this guy hasn't been around in 40 years. Look at him. But I mean, they did. People came back, and
I think that the really interesting, very cool part about all of this is, not just people reuniting, is the little offshoots. The memory project, the music project, and things that, I don't have to tell you about, but I've got to tell everybody else about how these little fingers reach out to everybody, and we engage people that wouldn't normally be engaged in a project like this. Zoom meetings. Oh, I remember that picture right there. I remember when it was taken. I remember what we were doing and what you said. But history, we lose a lot of history due to the ravages of time.
That's right.
And if projects like this, and projects that everybody sitting in this room, are if the people that are sitting in this room, me excluded, okay, the people that are sitting in this room, if they didn't take the time to do this, in another 10 years, another 5 years, another 20 years, this would all be lost.
We lose the artifacts, we lose the memories.
Right.
And the biggest thing we hear are people that say, "I wish that my mother were here," or "I wish my dad was around."
Or I wish I had asked the question, "Who's this in this picture?"
Exactly. And what happens is life goes by so fast, and sometimes there are some people that take pictures that are around. A lot of times, you happen to be very fortunate. You have old videos from when you were a kid. I don't know about the rest. If you guys have any there were no videos of us.
No.
Before there was video, there was 8mm tape and 8mm film that my father was quite avid about doing. And you don't hear what people are saying, but you hear the tick 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 of the camera, the projector doing this stuff. But again, it comes down to, we're going to lose this stuff. While I was stuck in traffic just up the road, I heard everybody talking about, the church and how it became and how we started this, and, bringing me back even after, I grew up in the church and then was separated for a while and came back. And, now look at me, be careful what you ask for. But it's like, I'm so happy to have been a part of this at the time when it started. And I cannot impress upon your listeners and other church leaders, whether you be lay leaders or clergy, you gotta find this stuff. Every Sunday we hear in the memorial services, memory eternal. If we don't do something to remember this stuff, if we don't do something to preserve this stuff, we're gonna lose it.
Once the artifacts are gone, they're gone, right?
And you don't know they're gone unless somebody finds them.
Yeah, and this is the thing. So the good thing about our project is that, many good things, but we've been called by other church communities in the metropolis of Boston and across the country to say, "Hey, we would like to do a storytime project as well," or "How did you catalog those books?" or can you tell me how do you find your speakers and things like that, you know? So I think we all need to do it. I think you're right. I think everybody has to do it. It's not just, this isn't a story just about St. George. It's a story for all of us.
Well, if it wasn't, and you know, I'm not tooting your horn, but if it wasn't for the ladies that are sitting next to me and the gentlemen that are sitting next to me right now, and of course Phil Liakos, who isn't here today, we wouldn't be as successful as we are. And how this just branches out into other areas of our heritage.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you have Greek cultural resources, you know, the things that you do for everybody else, that, you know, you're an unsung hero. And again, here, you know, I don't want to go to whatever you want.
I appreciate it. I think we all have stuff, we all have memories, and the thing is our memories connect us.
Absolutely.
And it's, we can look at a picture and say, oh, you know, I remember her, I was there, and maybe even find out a little bit more about the people. I have to show you something. I'm not sure if you've seen this, but this is a journal of the Sons of St. George. Did I show you this?
No.
This is my dad's writing. He was good in penmanship, and he wrote in both Greek and in English. And this is from the 40s. And the Sons of St. George were right after or during the war, and my father kept the journal, and we never talked about it while he was alive. He handed it to me afterward, and well, you can see it has the people, the members here. Vangie, can you read Greek?
Jim.
If not, you can turn the page, because he did a page in English and a page in Greek.
Do you want me to read names? Or?
Yeah, read the names if you could, Jimmy.
Theophilos Aliapoulios, Πρόεδρος, Ευστάθιος Χρονόπουλος, Αντιπρόεδρος, Γιώργος Pouliopoulos, Γραμματέας, Κωνσταντίνος Μυρμήγκης, Ταμίας. Is that Charlie Myrmingus?
Yeah, that's Charlie. He's
Yeah.
my dad's best man.
Time,
Yeah. And the committee is Dimitrios Staliras. I apologize if that's not incorrect.
No,
Vasilios Lolaris, Ilias Kalariotis, Harilaos Mourasakis, Yorgos. Yeah.
you can flip the page.
Yeah,
there,
it's
Jimmy.
it's the old
Look at-
school
It's the old
handwriting.
school. But you know, he is. Oh, that was
Okay. Maybe just read one of these entries.
Well, you know, there's an entry in there. I don't know if you can find
Yeah.
it, but they were actually coming down to Somerville, Massachusetts, to do a play.
Oh, wow.
And there's a Greek play that's in there. I think one of the plays that they used to do, and they do fundraisers. They talk about doing fundraisers for the church and going. Do you see the section there about Somerville? They
Looking
also
really quickly here.
They also had a very big meeting topic at one point of whether or not to allow girls into the organization.
How'd that work out?
I know, that's the whole thing. So so we've digitized that whole book, and I think that it's great it's part of our history up there, at St. George, but it also
I
ties.
found it. Sorry.
Do you find it?
Yeah.
What does it say? What is the entry?
It's kind of a
You can read it in
lengthy-
English,
lengthy entry, but yeah, I can give it a shot.
or just part of the English.
Yeah, the English. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I meant English. I'll give it a shot. Yeah.
Love it.
It's like Tuesday all over.
Yeah, I know. It's like, are we on here? Or, anyway, okay. October 14th, 1942. On Wednesday at 7:30, the Sons of St. George met at the Greek school and decided on the following. A motion was brought forward and seconded to present the play at Somerville, Mass. The name of the play is Ohoros tu Zalou. It will be given on November 22nd. We also decided to give a Halloween party and publish tickets at the price of 20 cents.
Oh boy, that was a big.
I tell you.
Yeah.
It will take place at the auditorium in the Greek school. A committee of 4 was elected to take care of expenses. Charles Medmingos, Nicholas Kakavas, Theophilos Aliapoulios, Steve Chronopoulos. We also decided to present a few comedies for the Lady Society. We then decided to adjourn the meeting until Wednesday at 7:30.
Wow. So Steve Chronopoulos must be the bishop's now brother, right? Or
Yeah, that, not sure.
yeah. Okay. So it's, as time goes on, but thank you. That was really. I'm glad you found that entry.
Yeah,
And I don't know if the play in there is the same play, but I think there's a play somewhere in there. But so we brought one of the things that we do at the library is we people are bringing in books. Like every week we receive things. These are things from my collection at home, but I thought you'd like to see. This is something that was done in Malden, Massachusetts in 1934, and it's a children's book, and it was Christos C. Pappas. It's not cataloged in any library that we know of, and but I thought I wanted to show you these. These are kind of cool. And Tim, I know that you've seen this. I think you have. There were some that were in that back room, I think, that we excavated. This is a nice, clean, not smelly copy. The Sons of Pericles published a book on the Divine Liturgy, and this is it. And oops, oppa. So I don't know, is there a year on that? But it says on the inside it's published by the Sons of 1946. That's the Sons of Pericles published a beautiful book on the Divine Liturgy. And this is one of the books that we have, what we see in here in the Orthodox Church. And you know, there's a section of Meleti laughing. Inappropriate humor.
right.
But we do have fun. I think let's, if we can, just put on a song for a minute so we can take a sip. And we'll be right back with the members of the library at St. George Greek Orthodox Cathedral in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Έβηβα εσύ, έβηβα εγώ. Έβηβα και στους δυο
The trio Cathedral from their LP Sto Spiti Sus. What's not, people don't know about that is that beautiful piano in the background was Eva Pongi, who was there. And when there was a bouzouki every once in a while in that music for the 2 or 3 albums they did in New York, it was Fotigonis, who sadly passed away. And those artists aren't credited on the recording, but there you have it. We're back with our guests now, the volunteers from the library at St. George. A couple of people from the board of directors are here, the president, George Skaperdas, and Tim Giotas in the wings, who is looking through a Sons of Pericles book, issued book on the Divine Liturgy. And that was back in 1946. So these are really important artifacts. And well, when we started the library, I think one of the biggest challenges was how to reach the younger generation. And Helen, you had developed a program on story time, which is, so where did that come from? And
Well, it's a program that I think went extremely well, and I was very excited about it. It started, I think, with my thoughts that anytime anybody said library, I immediately, of course, thought of books. I used to go to the Manchester Library all the time as a kid, and trying to think of things that might bring the kids down into the physical space of the library. What better way than to have a story time and have them come into the library, and even if you didn't talk much about it, they could at least see what was down there, and then maybe eventually that will lead to some discussion about what are these things and why are they here and why are they important to us. So we decided to start. We had some money donated for kids books, so there are a lot of picture books, and it can add a little bit to their religious education, other than, in addition to what they're getting at their Sunday school classes. And to learn new things. I learn new things every time I hear somebody reading a book. And to get to know different people in the community. So we try to pick, people that the kids probably have seen around the church, and to let them know what their role was, and to show that everybody can contribute and be a great church member. We had 5 guest readers this year. That was really wonderful. I was really happy about it. And we even had Peter, Father Dimitri's son, read The Littlest Altar Boy, and one of the comments in that was, "My son can't wait till he's old enough to be an altar boy." So it was great that we are having some kind of an influence over the kids. And so that's it for this school year, but I do have a few extra ideas up my sleeve for next year, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, I saw in the last. This is like the fireworks, but the recent story time that you had, there was an illustrator, who Anna Liz Barasa, but she also did not just read from the book, but she taught people how to draw, right?
Yeah, that was fabulous because that was a great way to end it. She read a little bit of the book. The book is a chapter book for kids. There's 9 different books. I think they're just publishing the 7th one now. So yeah, the kids were all sitting there drawing Harriet the Bee, to show, and they were really good at it.
Right.
So they really enjoyed that. Gave them something to do. Get up.
So Helen, I just want to congratulate you because you're a real pioneer in this. We had called the Archdiocese to find out if there were any storytellers for children. Did they have anyone anywhere that they could recommend? And they couldn't. And so you're starting a program. I think we've received calls from other communities that they want to understand how that goes. And, there was just little things like tying in with the Sunday school and putting the carpet down and things like that.
Well, thank you. That's good to know. But, of course, I couldn't have done it without all of your support and the community's support. So
Yeah,
I'm happy about that.
it's
so
really
thank
great.
you.
I love seeing the pictures, and I love seeing the kids respond to it, which is really good. The other program we have is the cataloging of books, and Vangie, you've done an amazing work in that. Tell us about the online catalog. Tell us, because it contains all the books, over 1,300 books now.
It's actually over 1,400. I checked this
Did you
morning.
cross 1,400?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
so
great.
yeah, people
Wow.
drop in and drop off books, and I use a library thing to catalog all the books, and I include tags for each book, so it's easy to search if you're looking for Greek history or religious studies or anything you're looking for. And the covers are also cataloged, and it's not just books. We've received some media like DVDs and CDs and pamphlets. We have a bunch of boxes containing cataloged pamphlets of a variety of subjects.
So it's really great because we right now, if we wanted to look up a book, if we were going to Manchester, we could see, maybe something on Lent or something like that,
Yeah.
or on Holy Week.
Yep.
And if it's there, we're a lending library now.
Yes, we are. We've had many people actually check out books, which is encouraging to see. And we're there for everybody.
It's
to
a
come
really
check it
good
out.
experience. We also have a third program which we've received a lot of inquiry about, and that's the author speaker series and library speaker series. And we've had a lot of authors. I have the book from A Village Murder that Jonathan Ixados had come in to do, and we were all taken by this book. And I remember when he came to give the talk, it was one of the first ones I think we did. And since then we've had Nikki Karavasilis, we've had other topics, not just authors, but it's a real successful program. So I'm really proud of that. I'm proud of all of the work that we're doing there. So I just wanted other people to know. The reporter that wrote that article, we've had a couple of articles in the national newspapers on this. We were just contacted and they want to do another article on us now in our 5th year. So that's really nice when they come to us for that, and I appreciate it. So George, any final thoughts?
Just one more thing. I mean, to people who may be listening that would want to try to do something like this, I have to say that, you know, the board of directors dropped seed money on this, but everything is community based, community funded through donations and all that. So I mean, I'm not shamelessly plugging for us, but you know, you got to go out there, you got to find it. And if it wasn't for these people help that I'm sitting next to and fortunate to be able to be a part of, you know, we wouldn't have any of this. So
right.
this is something that, sure, I know churches are strapped for money right now, but it's also important to realize that once the community realizes just how important this is, it will come.
It will come, you know, and that's because this is a good thing, and it's a must-do.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm also proud of the relationship we have with our the churches in the area that all support. They're coming to the lectures and they're coming to the events, and that's the kind of unity that we had growing up. And I think we help to foster that. But we have a good relationship too with the historic society and with the schools now, and so I think we're doing the right thing. And you're all just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So thank you very much. And we're going to continue and just give a minute at the top of the hour. Please stay tuned at the top of the hour for the news report with Nicoletta. It's Mondays with Meleti and your host, Meleti Pouliopoulos. You know, I'm so pleased that my guest from this morning from St. George came all the way down from Manchester, New Hampshire, to talk about the library. They're staying, we're having some coffee, and the president of the community, George Skaperdas, and I were just talking, and he said, "Are you going to talk about your event?" And, well, let's talk about it, George.
Well, St. George's, the board of directors, a proposal came to us that there was going to be a wine sampling to benefit Greek cultural resources. And, you know, the board of directors, I have to say, this group of directors, we will try to do anything to help, what's the word I'm looking for, project our heritage, to try to protect our heritage, and looking forward, knowing that the Greek cultural resources has been, you know, started out as music, and now look at what it is, and you're getting traction, and anything that we can do to help and give, you know, our friend Meleti traction for everything that he's done. And, you know, he's a son of St. George's, so we were very quick to jump on board and say, yeah, here, you want to use the community center? Here you go. And so that's May 17th, and please, 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 I mean, it looks like it's going to be a great time, and I'm sure I've got the key to the library. If you want to come over and look at the library while we're there for Greek cultural resources,
That's
you know,
right.
I'll unlock the library for you. But,
There you go.
you know, to just touch upon the library and the resources that are available.
Yeah.
Okay. There have been people and I find myself spending more and more time at the cathedral, and people coming in, well, can you let me in? Can I take a look? Yeah, come on and take a look. When we have, now we're holding meetings in there instead of using a big community center. We're holding some meetings in there, you know, just church organization meetings. But, you know, it's really kind of cool. You have the eyes of the saints on you, and then you have the eyes of all your yayas and papudas on you, and your great grandparents, and the people who made this community. I mean, we're 120 years old this year, and a shameless plug is October 4th, 2025. We're having our 120th anniversary. It's going to be catered by a James Beard award-winning caterer. Tickets will be going on sale soon. There'll be dancing, a live band, and a DJ. So it's just going to be a fun time. But, you know, I had to throw that in. Sorry, Meleti. But we're 120 years, and there are not many communities around us that can say that they're much older. I'm aware of one that might be 125, so if we're having this kind of party at 120, I can't imagine what 125 is going to be.
It's there's a lot of history there, and it's so great. I'm glad you mentioned it. October 4th, I think the date's set, right?
Yeah, and the really neat thing about the October 4th, and Right, it's right after our Glendy, our Grecian festival. However, it will be 55 years to the day that St. George's was consecrated a cathedral. So so that is not lost on us. And I showed you the program that was that night. So, I'd love to be able to try to recreate that for us 55 years later.
It'd be a beautiful thing, and we've got some historical photographs hanging in the library, and I didn't know it was Father Dimitri Kostarakis that came down, and he looked at the photos that we have framed just to the right of the door, and he said, "Do you know who this is?" And I said, "No." He goes, "That's His Eminence."
No kidding.
Yeah, Metropolitan Methodios, when he was young without a beard. And he 1970 now, so he was, and I sent it to him, and I said, "Is this you?" And he said, "Yes, that's me."
But that's the cool part
really
about
cool.
what you, and I'm talking about everybody in this room, our community, getting behind and finding this stuff. I mean, when my parents passed, when my dad passed away, and a few years later I start going through closets and finding photographs, and the first year I couldn't throw those photographs away, but then wondering who these people are, and we're losing the people that can tell us who these people are, and that's what's so important about what is going on with Greek Cultural Resources, with the Memory Project at St. George, and I cannot stress upon your listeners and the people who may be out there that if they want to try to do something like this, hey, we've made mistakes, but we're getting through. But contact Meleti, contact the people in this
definitely.
room.
Contact us. We want to help, and we're all together in this. And when we get artifacts that belong to another community, we contact them right away. And it's just that's how it should be.
Do you know what the oldest artifact that we have in the library? And
Ooh.
it's a tough question. I hate to put you on the spot, but
That's
I mean,
it would be
there's stuff that goes back to 1920s.
No, even before that, the icons,
Yeah.
right? So we have icons painted going back that are dated to 1905. But before that, we know that there's that one to the left of the door where there's a couple that are really. Ooh.
And I mean, don't be afraid to ask the community to help you to preserve these things.
What I want, it's not just a matter of funding. It is a matter of engagement, and
Exactly.
I think that there are some people that could enable this, and I just hope that they make this a priority this year, because there's a lot of work we have to do, and when we lose the artifacts, we lose our history, and we've not done a very good job. Collectively have, when we're losing our newspapers and our books and these institutions that we're entrusting have no relationship with the communities anymore. They have no relationship with each other. When our organizational history is lost and our church history is being lost and our community history is lost, we don't know what we did.
We're in such an age of information, but when we lose the information that was brought down to us from an uncle to a nephew and the grandparent to a parent to a child, I mean, it's just like the stories, I mean, from mouth to ear.
Yeah.
And the legends and the myths and all that. I mean, our whole heritage is built on myths and legends and all that. And if we don't carry it on, where's it going to go? I mean, Greek Cultural Resources has a beautiful flyer out there with a big bulldozer on top of a pile of books or trash or whatever you want to call it, and it's like, this is the stuff that we're losing.
I'm taking off the gloves at this point because, at this point I have nothing to lose. I'm asking that people get engaged in this. It's very serious. A friend of mine called me about someone who was picking the trash outside of a church, and he was brought in before the priest and said, "Well, this is trash. This is what you were throwing out, and these are very valuable records of the church." and it was being thrown out by people on the board. And then they, but this is our heritage being thrown out. I was picking trash, by the way, outside of a Provamidis department store. The owners said, well, we're not going to throw out anything, and they were throwing things out. So, our heritage literally is going into the trash, and I think we need a big awareness campaign. I think it should be everyone's priority. And we've lost records of the church, and I have a proposal out there that I need someone to take up seriously.
I think that and all kidding aside, I mean, when you start talking about, when we stop talking about our history and we start talking about exactly what you're saying, what we're losing. I mean, we see it in declining church attendance. What are we losing? There's so much more that people are engaged in life. Oh, well, my kids got basketball. My kids got gymnastics. We're getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning for our 7-year-olds to go play hockey, but we're not getting up at 8 or 7 o'clock in the morning to bring them to Sunday school. That kind of stuff that we're losing. And I'm not getting on a soapbox here. I'm just saying that's what we're up against. So just imagine what happens when they're getting their education elsewhere, but we're not doing what we need to do to give people just to remember where we came from.
Right.
I mean, our generation, we're all contemporaries. We're all about the same age. I'd hate to think that we're the last ones to care about this stuff.
There's a saying that a people without knowledge of their cultural heritage is like a tree without roots in the wind.
Yeah, you're going to tip over.
You're going to tip over, and so it's no wonder that we're now 2 generations from the time that we grow up. So it's no wonder that we've lost those roots, and because the context is gone away, and it's part of that's the storytelling.
Well, and I think that's what's so important about what Helen and her team is doing, and Vangie and Tim, about the storytelling, engaging younger kids with with a little bit older kids to read this stuff to them. Hey, well, they're a part of the church, and for Father Dimitri's son Peter to read to the kids about being an altar boy. I mean, people poo-poo, oh, it's church, but it goes deeper than that. And I'm passionate about it. And having separated myself from the church, 15 or 18 years ago, and then, fighting to get onto the board of directors at the time, and where I'm at right now, and being proud of what my time is with these people and what we've accomplished. And hopefully, we need our library to live on, and hopefully our library will instill other communities to learn, to find where you don't know where you came from unless you look, unless you ask.
That's the whole thing, yeah.
And you have, Greek cultural resources. I can't stress that enough. But,
if I went and told you, George, that how much information is not in our libraries or not cataloged and not available to us, you would make your hair stand up.
How much more is being lost every day with the, what I like to say, are seasoned parishioners, and losing them every day.
How many?
Oh, well, and I'm just picking names: Helen and George and Evie in different nursing homes, and we forget about them. Oh, the nursing home's taking care of them. Well, I'm sure that they'd like to talk about it a little bit too. They may not want to do it on camera, but it's nice to be able to get those ideas out there. And, we're going to listen to, well, we did it this way and you should be doing it this way. Well, you got to go with that too. You take that with a grain of salt.
But you need to get those oral histories out. Yeah. You need to get and everyone's sitting on stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
And and this is our heritage, right? So if we can all say it's important, and no one in my 20 years of doing this, no one has said to me, bah, it's not important. Everyone says it's important. We're all proud of our heritage. We're having a parade. We're marching down the street. We all say, may their memory be eternal. but on the other hand, we're throwing their stuff out.
And I hate to do this, but I'm going to do it. You just talk about taking the gloves off. And I hesitate to do this because, I don't want to be that person when people see me coming, always going to hit me up for $100 or $200 again. But it's so important to, we'll blow $100 or we'll blow $200 on a night out for dinner every week or every other week. Hey, take $100 or $200, give it to your church, give it to Greek Cultural Resources, give it to these places that are doing what they can to keep this stuff alive.
Yeah. I mean, it's why not, right? I mean,
there's worse places to spend it on.
It's amazing to me that we can get hundreds of people in for a concert and a night out and a selfie. But again, where are the priorities? And what are we waiting for? Why can we sit and say it's important and then not support it?
When it comes down to education, and I think everybody in this room, and I'm sure everybody that's listening, knew how important education was to the previous generations, the generations just getting here. I mean, my grandparents worked in the mills in Manchester, as I'm sure many people did, and, provided a better life for my parents and what we're trying to do for our kids. And I don't have kids, but you see the sacrifices that are being made, but you see things changing, and it's important to hold on to what we've got right now. Yeah. I mean, you have the St. Patrick's Day parade. We have the parade in Boston for our heritage,
but
how many more years are you going to be able to do this?
We're rewriting the history. 29th annual. This is a rewrite of our history.
But I listened to you say it was done how many years before that? In the 30s?
1903 there was an organized parade. I just had a big talk with a historian down in Baltimore about this because they were announcing their first parade is 1932. And I said, look, ours go back in Boston all the way to 1903. And for a full-blown parade, when I'm talking about marching, starting in the church and marching down the street and hundreds of people. Why is this not being corrected? Why are people just so...
Well, I think that...
What is that?
The early Greeks and the early Greek immigrants, we tried so hard, or our families tried so hard to assimilate themselves into the new country, into their new culture, and become citizens and become, worthwhile citizens, that maybe that had something to do with it too. I don't know. I'm not that smart a guy, but
it's mind-boggling. And the other mind-boggling thing is, why not unite the community? Why not start taking initiatives and attitudes that will unite the community? The kids want to do it. I had just started a new work study student. I'm going to bring her on sometime because she's, like 22, 21 years old. But she is so much insight as to what's going on. And they want to have a united community. And why not give that to them?
And something, I'm going to touch on the tribal aspect of this too. Right. We all have the different villages that our families came from in Greece and all that, and the different societies. Hey, before they die out completely, try to find one, hook up with one, and just find out what they know. I mean, just like we said before, we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah, right. Well, thank you, George. I appreciate your adding your voice of support for this. I'm
passionate about it.
I give talks. I've given talks now, I can say, all around the country, and I meet with groups, and they're lined up for over an hour to talk with me and to tell their story, and they have things, and they want us, and I'm getting shipments from all over the country. And I'm also seeing stuff that's ending up in the trash. And I could give you some examples, like I say, and those are artifacts that are gone forever. And so this is really the time. It's now or never. Is there a song for that? There's got to be. Whatever. Anyway, so we're... Yeah, Elvis Presley. There we go.